Right, good evening. It's 7 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. We have an agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, the administration has no additions.
Anyone on council? I would like to move 15.4 to 14.1, the NAV Canada. Madam Mayor, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't.
Great. Someone prepared to move the agenda? Councillor Lambert, all in favor? Carried. Perfect timing. Come on to the front. Welcoming Staff Sergeant Dittmer with the detachment report. Good evening.
Hello, how's everyone tonight?
Good, you.
Good, good. I'd like to see it raining, so always nice. Okay, so I provided the reports for June. First of all, are there any questions before I go over anything at all?
Does anyone have any questions? No, you can just proceed.
Okay, so pardon me. So for the total prisoners for the year, we had 1,425. That's what we're up to now. For June, we had 355. And so far in July, we're up to 74. So the stat sheets that I provided, if you break them down, it's 561 calls for service in June. And that's broken down to 98 property crime, 48 persons crime, 94 traffic related occurrences, 6 drug offenses, 64 other criminal code investigations, 205 federal and or provincial statutes, 47 common police activities, which would be like a 911 hang up or things of that nature. So we're averaging about 18.7 calls a day. And that would break down to 46.75 calls per constable for the month. So that's sort of what that breaks down to for June. On some staffing news, the new corporal and his wife, who's a constable, they have arrived. So they moved in over the weekend, so they're going to be on our schedule this month. I think they have some holidays, so I think it's going to be around the end, middle to end. And we're going to lose one member this month to a transfer. So we're gaining one, so.
And that leaves the staffing level at what percent?
We're getting close to full. That's going to top up our NCOs, except for the sergeant who's been named. We're just waiting for his transfer orders to be issued. Then he told me he's not going to sell a house. He's going to leave his wife behind. She's going to sell the house. So he wants to get here, start working. He's really hungry to get here, motivated to get here. So we'll be fully NCO'd staff. So we'll have proper supervision from the top down. And we did get the official word that those 2 positions, extra positions, have been provided. So we're going to be looking for housing for that. Zach Riddell will be here next month. Cherry Brady will be here. We're hoping next month he has to sell a house. And I had one person on the wait list to come here, but with these 2 positions, he'll be coming. So I'm thinking by the end of summer, early fall, we should be topped up. 12 constables is what we have right now with 2 vacant spots. So, yeah.
Anything else?
Nope.
Anyone have any questions for the staff sergeant? Yes, go ahead.
Just gonna ask about
button.
There we go. Oh yeah, there we go. Cool. I was just curious about the additional officers that they brought in just from with the evacuations and all that this summer. What's the expectations for how much longer they'll be in the area? And
I'm really hoping we can continue for a while, just for the simple reason, high level, we get asked to help neighboring detachments all the time. And it's tough to say no when we can't, but if we have these extra resources, we're able to have more flexible. And we're able to have our people have more training or days off. I got 4 this week. So we're hoping it continues. We know it's starting to slowly peter off in terms of having people wanting to come and able to come with summer. But I suspect it'll probably be into August before that's shut off. So
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm good.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming out. Thanks for the great
Thank you.
paper copy is always much appreciated.
Would you be interested in? It's just my little.
Thanks.
You too.
All right, we have the minutes from the June 26th regular council meeting. Anyone with any amendments? I have a couple. In 9.1, the council reports, and I think it's my fault I didn't say it during the time. I also attended the June 19th funding advocacy meeting. And then on resolutions 230, 234, 235, and 236, the word counselor is missing in who moved it. It's just the last name. That's all I had. Anyone prepared to move the minutes as amended? Councillor Jessamine, all in favor? Carried. Someone prepared to move the delegation business for information? Councillor Lieberman, all in favor? Carried. Madam Mayor, do you have a mayor's report?
No, sorry, I don't.
All right. Do we need anything to just?
Just,
Nope.
we'll just mark it as.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the committees on which councillors are appointed. Just go in the order on the agenda. So the only thing I have to report was the Canada Day celebrations. A huge thank you to Director Clark and all of her staff, all of the other directors who organized a fantastic event. All of the reviews I heard were good, despite the fact that we were down in our hot dog count. Perhaps that was due to Councillor Jessamine not being there for the competition. But no, I think a great time was had by all and a fantastic job and a huge thank you to all of the town staff. Councillor Jessamine.
I have nothing.
Councillor Lambert.
Just as you said, Deputy Mayor, the Canada Day event was a huge success from my point. I had nothing but good reviews heard back as well. So really good job. Thank you. That is all I have to report.
Councillor Lieberman.
I just attended the Canada Day festivities as well. Other than that, I have nothing to report.
Councillor Wilkie.
I also attended the Canada Day celebrations, and yes, it was fantastic. Everyone said so. Good job, everyone, admin. And that's all I have to report.
How an experienced Canada Day cake cutter.
Yes.
Thank you. Someone prepared to accept those reports as information. Councillor Lambert, all in favor? Carried. The council action list. Anything that anyone wants to ask about? Seeing none, is someone prepared to move that for information? Councillor Lieberman, all in favor? Carried. The upcoming events list. Any comments? Anyone aware of any upcoming event that's not reflected in the list that we would like administration to add? Someone prepared to move that for information?
I'll move.
Councillor Welke, all in favor? Carried. The strategic plan second quarter update. Who wants to go first? Or I guess, maybe we'll do it this way. Are there any specific questions that anyone on council has for administration?
I have a.
Sure. Councillor Welke?
So I have a few just questions that kind of span the entire document. Should we just go through it that way rather than go through point by point kind of thing? Okay. So first I was wondering, like how exactly are we quantifying the progress with the relationship building with, I think there's, with the Dene Taw and with Mackenzie County, I think it states a certain percentage and then a little bit of an increase in percentage. But how are we determining our progress? Maybe or specifics, I guess, for determining that progress.
I believe that's the one I reported on. Generally what I do is take a look at the number of meetings that have taken part between the parties. That's meetings either between councils or between administrations, and just tend to put it up from there. And in the last quarter, there were 1 or 2 phone calls with the administration of the county on a couple of specific issues, a little more contact with the Dene Taw, but there hasn't been any movement on any of the issues with the Dene Taw.
I guess that's one where we would, it would never really hit 100%, so to speak, if we're just relationship building as we go, but okay, no, that's good. Next question I had was the business surveys stated going out to the businesses for health and education. Have those been sent out?
There. Who was working on the?
I don't think I've seen one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I believe that Lane was working on them when he was with Haley.
Yeah, I believe that, yeah, we didn't, I think most of the time got concentrated on working with the chamber to, oh, Haley, did you want to add to that?
Sorry, yes, it's not an item I reported on, but I was responsible for putting the survey together. I don't believe we were targeting the health businesses. We had a number of questions on there just about the downtown vitalization, challenges that businesses are experiencing. It wasn't targeting any specific business other than not doing home-based businesses. So we had a couple of our staff reaching out to each of the businesses by phone and email, and we haven't had a huge uptake on that. Like the number of responses, I believe, is about 19 or 20. So we've still left it open, and we're looking at other ways that we can get a bit more progress on this item.
But just to further to that question about the specifically AHS of the Fort Finland School Division, nothing's been done on those sectors.
Okay, yeah, I'm thinking, I think I was reading, it was maybe the section on what can the town do to aid in recruitment in those industries, and that I could be wrong if I wrote down my questions, but now I should have written specifically, but it's hard to remember exactly where these sections were. But was there business surveys for ideas on recruitment, or is that a different section? Because I know the town, part of this, a couple of the sections is what can the town do to aid in recruitment for both health and education. And I think we had some progress in those areas as well.
That was just the basic surveys that were done. That the note does say they'd be adapted at a later date for government sectors.
Okay, but that wasn't letters to businesses in that section though, was it?
No, not in those.
That's just what the town feels they do. Okay. Okay. Do we have any updates on the status of a provincial police force? That was in here as well, but especially with the new government.
I have heard nothing
Okay.
From the new government on that subject. I don't think there's even been anything in the news.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything. No, okay. And, empowering community user groups for recruitment and retention for volunteers. I think this one was stated to have started by now, but I don't think we've seen any start or status change. Is that or are we working on that then?
Yeah, sorry, I can speak to that.
Yeah.
So yes, it should have started already, but with the evacuations and everything, we haven't had time to do it. So what the staff are currently working on is getting a list, like an updated list of all the groups and organizations in town, so we can reach out to them and kind of see what services are they offering and what type of supports do they need, and then we can take the next step. So a lot of the stuff under community services hasn't been updated from the last time, only because all of our staff have kind of shifted their focus for the past couple of months.
So the first thing is we're trying to build a proper database of who's out there.
Yes.
And then how we can aid them. Okay. And I guess this maybe could have come up in the administration action list, but it's also in here. The fire services with Denetah First Nation. I know we're struggling in that area just to actually engage, is it, or?
Mr. Aisles and I have exchanged a few conversations, but of course they've had the same last couple of months that we have.
Right.
Administratively with the evacuations. We will try to touch base here soon. However, the high level fire department did respond to a house fire in Bushy last night.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I might suggest an invite to a council meeting. I don't know if that's a possibility, but I would perhaps be in favor of having a discussion here. But that could be brought up at a later time too, so. That's all the questions or concerns I have with the strategic plan update.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Like Councillor Welke, I note that there's a couple of areas that were supposed to be completed by now that are deficient. And I would suspect those are attributed to staff change and just the situation that we found ourselves in since the beginning of May. So one other minor comment I'll make in the progress since the last update certainly was my ask. And I think it's really, really useful. There's a couple of them, I think, that are reversed where the status percentage and the progress is higher than what the overall status is. So the numbers just probably got reversed. So she is aware. Yeah. Oh, just if anyone on in the community that's accessing the agenda electronically, and if they're looking at that, they may just have a question. So I just wanted to make that observation. All right, if there are no other questions or comments, is someone prepared to just as information is fine? Is that correct? Yes. Okay. I'm prepared to move it. Councillor Welke, all in favor? Carried. The monthly report to council. Does anyone have any questions? Anyone? Is there anything administration wants to highlight on any specific area?
Actually, I'm going to just because it does come up at this time of year. If Councillor Gavin maybe wants to just highlight some of the works they've been doing on community enforcement, especially with under the Community Standards Act or bylaw.
Councillor. Yeah, it's been quite busy. particularly with cleanup orders, but we've also been doing, been a bit more proactive on the compliance orders as well. So specifically under the land use bylaw and the community standards bylaw as well. So yeah, it's been busy. We're trialing a bit of a different reporting system as well. We are moving over to a different records management system next month. So that'll be a bit of a learning curve, and we are down to one officer right now, but you know, being as diligent as we can within the timelines we're allowed. And yeah, things are going pretty good so far.
I know I just had one comment. It's great to see the use of the pool. If memory serves, we usually shut down over the summer for a maintenance. Is that happening this year, or are we going to try and push that just because of the extra people in town? Or I know there was work on the tile being scheduled. I'm not sure when that's happening.
I'd have to get back to you on the dates of the shutdown. I'm not sure. I know that they've done it around Christmas before, but I'm not sure about the summer right now. So I can let you know at the next meeting.
Thank you. Oh, and then for Director Schmidt, how's the recruitment coming with members?
To be 100% honest, pretty slow. We've had a couple applications come in the last week or two, but they've been more temporary applications. So I'm here for the summer. I can kind of help out. So we're processing one of those right now. The other one hasn't completely filled out the application yet. We do have at least one member who is a past member who's fully qualified that's planning on returning mid-summer. He's currently on vacation, so we have that returning. So you know we're getting a couple in, but it's not a big rush.
And then one final question for the CAO. I know this is an arrears type of a report, but there was recently an announcement from the province that they're making $75 or $78 million available for communities that have been impacted by the fire season, and whether or not we've been tracking all of our costs and are planning to make a submission.
Yeah. Mr. Deputy Mayor, I'll let Director Phillips.
Yes, we are. We're actually going to, now that everything is settled down, Director Clark is getting some quotes just for our last minute of our DRP. So we did talk to AMA about our submission. We are actually going to just submit it and do a letter straight to the province instead of submitting a mutual aid invoice to Little Red River Cree Nation. So we will be drafting that letter and doing that, and then sitting down and organizing the projects and all of our expenses for it.
Great. Anyone have anything else? Someone prepared to remove the monthly report as information? Councillor Lebron, all in favor? Carried. Waste collection program. Have we picked a size?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I'll let Director Straub deal with that.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor, Langford and Council. So initially, when we brought this forward at the fees bylaw meeting, administration was recommending the installation of 2 cans, one green and for green waste and one for black. We've been working with our local contractor and facilitation of that. It's now our recommendation to start off with that we go to just 2 black cans. The biggest concern we have, this is a very new program for us in town, and we're not sure that the 2-day pickup's going to work right away. And it's quite a burden on the contractor to get set up and manage this. He also doesn't have a second truck yet. They are working towards that. So it's administration's recommendation that we go with 2 cans initially. They'll be picked up once a week. I have negotiated a reasonable pickup fee to cover that, and you'll see that within the finances below. Part of that also is to look at a solid waste reserve for these carts and future additions to it. There is some potential to put some money into reserve, and then when we acquire enough to buy a green cart, then we can move towards the green cart program and continue on that way, and maybe even eventually a blue cart if council so wishes. So sizing is up to council if they have any recommendations. Administration certainly is recommending one of each. Gives the homeowner a choice whether they have light stuff or heavy stuff in the winter, but you know, it's up to council and for discussion.
Any questions by council? Councillor Well.
So the suggestion is that each home would have 164 and 196 gallon black bin.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And then if we were to add the green, would people have the option of turning in one of their blacks for a green, or would we add a third one for everybody's place if we have places that have less garbage and more recyclable? I guess especially if we moved on to blue in the future as well, can people turn in their like pick and choose then exactly which bins they are going to rent, so to speak?
So the fee for the black bins is the same, both bins, you know, it's within the established fee. The intent later is to build a reserve to purchase the green bin and then only have a very small minimal fee because it'll be a separate pickup. So it'll be a Tuesday pickup, separate to the normal garbage bin pickup.
Okay, so everyone would have the two bins kind of forever for that one fee that they was initially in place. Okay.
And if the homeowner or property owner wishes to add a third bin for whatever reason, we would have a fee to cover that extra pickup for the month.
I can see possibly that some people in the end would feel they don't even need that second bin and maybe then would want to turn just for space purposes too, like in their, you know, in their garage or whatever. But I guess maybe the fee would stay the same though. You could turn a bin back in if you wanted, I guess, right?
Yes, if they wish to have only one bin on their property. I guess the second bin is, you know, especially for the grass cutting times, the seasonal Christmas, you know, larger times, it might be handy to have. If the person didn't want, or the property owner didn't want that bin would be returned to the town, taken off their inventory, and then it would just go into the general holding. Again, I'm not sure if you do take a drive around town, you will see there's quite a few bins out in some properties and some have very few. So it is a choice. If you don't have the space, then we can certainly reduce the bins.
Right. And in the initial phase, then you can put anything in these. Like, are people going to fill these with grass now?
Possibly, yes.
Yeah. And it's kind of anything goes. It's the black bin. You can put anything.
Right. So in order to mitigate or move to a green bin, we have to have a lot of control over that because we would have a separate haul. There could be no plastics. There could be no other issues.
Right.
So,
and they have a camera system, were you saying, to actually monitor what's getting dumped?
Yes, they are. That was one of our recommendations is they put a camera system on initially. The camera system does two things. One, it watches what's being put in. If there's oil or other products, they can notice that. Hazardous goods, I guess, would be a better term. Secondly, each bin has an RFI chip as well as a visual serial number. So when that bin is dumped, it will be recorded that it was actually picked up at that property. And each serial or each bin will be registered to that property address or the tax utility account for that property. So if your bin goes disappearing, we should eventually find it. And it would be listed on the ratepayers water or utility bin. They will actually see their two serial numbers on their account. If they wish to have a third bin, the third bin would show up with an extra service charge. So again, this is really new for the community and I just don't want to underservice initially. And I certainly don't want to overload the contractor as to how we're going to pick up. I think a green program is excellent, but I would like to build for the near future.
I agree. I think when getting started, not to confuse anyone or complicate it by having specifics going in specific bins, the black ones, it's probably a good idea to just start with that. So thank you.
Anyone else have any questions, comments?
Just in regards to the size of the bins again, I guess we kind of talked about the grass clippings going in the bigger one. Wasn't there a concern before with the weight of that being dumped?
Yes, there is always a concern for weight, and initially we looked at, that was the initial recommendation, was the two different sizes. But we could easily have two of the smaller bins, which would take up less space in a household too. We haven't ordered, they are about $8 less, so there is a small financial savings. But just for convenience wise, we could start with the two smaller bins if council thinks it's the way to go. I just stuck with the original discussion of the two larger bins.
Thank you.
So I guess that being said, if somebody filled one of the big ones full of wet grass, could the system handle it? Because that's going to happen.
Depends on how wet it is. I'm not sure. They are a 300-pound bin, so.
Yeah. Like the contractor maybe should answer that, because that will happen. So if we have a bunch of bins start breaking, then is that on us to just buy new ones?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in order to mitigate that, we could go to the two smaller bins and forget the big one initially, and then the chance of overloading is definitely a limit.
I mean, it could be other things than grass. Somebody could put stuff in there that should, like, building, like one thing that's not allowed is like renovation and building materials, things like that, right? Like
Right. So
drywall and concrete,
gravel.
Right.
There is a limitation on the pickup, and if the bin is heavy, and there will be information provided to the homeowners as to what can go in there. You can't put car batteries, you can't put
Right.
hazardous waste.
Does the system sense it when it's about to pick it up? Like, can it kind of say, I better not pick this thing up? Like,
I am not 100% sure on whether or not it can sense the actual weight, but I'm pretty sure they can tell by the stress on the hydraulic system. Again, it's new. I'm not sure if it has a sensor that says you're overweight, but I don't think we have a lot of issue right now with current garbage cans being overloaded.
Right. Like, okay.
But I don't know if the bin will change that, right? So
change the behavior.
yeah, again, it's through public information and education. We hope to clarify. If it does appear to be too heavy, it will be left at the curb. Or if it's not properly paced, it will be left at the curb.
Okay. I don't know. I guess like seeing as the bigger one's not that much more expensive, it's probably maybe a good idea to have one of each. Yeah, I just don't want to see a bunch of these things getting busted and us buying new ones, but you don't quite know. But maybe they're robust enough that we don't even have to worry about it. I don't know.
I was just going to ask if we see an issue with potentially with the grass clippings. I notice just in my area that on any given pickup day there can be several bags at this time. Do we see that being an issue in the future, or will that be part of the education part of it?
Yes, Councillor Jessamine, I can see that being an issue. I think it's more about pacing your garbage load, spreading it over. We do pick up every week. The cities currently only pick up every 2 weeks. So this program is well ahead of the city of Edmonton or some of the major centers. So, you know, if you can only put so much in this week, you could always put a couple bags in next week. If your grass is growing not greatly, then you could always travel to the landfill and tip. There is no provision currently within the system to have a separate bag pickup. And that's something we may look at in the future for Christmas or some special event, but currently we're not looking at having loose bags on the side.
Yeah, moving forward, there won't be the labor force to do the kind of the manual pickup anyways, right? Like it'll be a single driver driving this truck that picks up these bins. So to arrange those special spring cleanup and those things would be a bigger deal than it is right now, I would imagine.
Yes, so the contractor currently provides the labor force to do the manual pickup around town. He will certainly reduce that. Apparently it's getting harder and harder to provide that labor force anyways. If we do a program like that, we could work with the contractor as a one-time event, but that's something we'll have to look at in the future.
I know there are other communities that will sell you a tag for extra bags and the driver comes, dumps the bin, gets out, puts the bags in the bin and then dumps the bin. But there's a fee per bag and there's a special tag on it, but
That is the special tag we were talking about. But I think initially we won't offer that just to make sure the contractor is comfortable doing the bins themselves. Again, there is also concern over the amount of time it's gonna take. And so that is something we can work with them at a later date if it becomes an issue. But currently it's something we're not implementing initially. But it has been discussed.
I know I was initially an advocate for the bigger bins when we were just talking size. But my concern would be the wet grass clippings, you know, these things could weigh 500 or 600 pounds fairly easily. So I would be in favor of two of the smaller bins, I think, to start with. But, and this would be a education thing, that we would start with one black and one green, considering them both to be black for now, telling people you can put whatever in either bin, so that once we do transition to the recycling or the organics, that it would just be an education issue at that point, and we actually wouldn't have to buy any extra bins at that time. And at that point, if someone wanted a second black one, then they could get it. I'm just thinking, you know, if we're laying out $200,000 for bins now, and they're both black, and then we switch to the green, you know, we're gonna be shelling out 100,000 for green bins. And as Councillor Welke pointed out, there may be people that say, we don't need them, and, you know, we'll end up with $50,000 or $60,000 worth of black bins just sitting in our fancy cold storage. But it would be a key educational component. So for Mr. Schnarr to let everyone know that even though they're different colors, that you could use them for anything. And that at some point we may be doing, or we will be doing a switch, but certainly not looking to confuse anybody. I'm just thinking of cost down the road. If it takes a year, 18 months, 2 years to switch to the green bin, there's lots of people that aren't going to want more than one of each. So that was going to be my only comment.
And blue in the future.
And blue in the
Like
future.
then the black one might be the least used. It could be.
There would be major changes for Mackenzie Regional Waste to start taking recycling. There's been a number of initiatives tried over the years, just even with cardboard, that
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands were spent on equipment and it just didn't work out. So I guess, how about we do it this way? We'll start first with bin size and then we'll go to color. So Councillor Lebron.
Two smaller bins and like black.
Councillor Jessamine. Councillor Welke.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yep.
Councillor Lamb.
I think it's a good idea as well, especially considering, you know, I know you said it'll be a long shot to go to the blue bins, but if it is a possibility, then everyone, you know, you won't need that black bin as much. Even if you go with just the green one, so I agree.
Councillor Jessamine.
I just thought of something like for our household, we don't have clippings. We never have clippings. So for me down the road, if I had a green and a black, I would have to pass in the green when we go to the green bin system, and I guess in the future, because I don't have grass clippings and stuff. So
But the green isn't going to be just for grass. It would be any organic household material.
So initially it will be that way, but eventually the green will be classed as only green. And if you have household waste in it, you'll be take it over or left. So
Vegetable kitchen.
Compostable stuff.
the green bin will be a separate pickup.
But it wouldn't just be grass that's going into the.
Yeah.
green. It's any organic.
Yeah, so if you have a green bin, initially we start off with 2 bins. And they'll be picked up with whatever, and then somewhere in the future, you will have to transition that green bin usage just to green bin. So anything you have been putting in it will have to change. If you have no use for the green bin, then you're down to one in black bin.
And at that point, you could ask for an extra.
Or trade it.
But again, I think education is going to be key. I know in other centers that they have random inspectors to go out that look in the organics bin, that look in the recycling bin, and even look in the black bin, and they'll tag it and leave you a note. And if it happens more frequently, you'll be fine, but they just won't pick it up if the inspector looks in it and it's non-compliant. So there's a plastic bag with your grass or something like that. Councilor Wilkie.
I just had one more question. It's a side load pickup on the truck, correct?
Yeah, so currently the contractor is looking at a system called a Corrado can. It uses their traditional front loading trucks. And it's a arm that comes off the side, dumps it into a bin, and then the bin gets dumped into the truck. They are looking at migrating to a special service truck just for that, where that's built into the side of the truck.
So how will that work in the areas where there's street parking? And you might only have the width of the driveway, say, available. Otherwise, the truck is out in the lane, middle of the road. Can it reach that? It can reach that far. Okay, okay.
Yeah, so on the bin, we will have a logo describing the placement of the bin. So there'll be an image that shows that the bin should be 1 meter away from a car, 1 meter in between each bins, not below a tree because it has to pick it up. So there will be a descriptive image on there that shows them proper bin placement. So basically at the curb and at least 1 meter away from objects around it.
I can see the driver getting out constantly, moving the bin into place, getting back in the vehicle, picking it up.
These things are pretty, the ones that I've seen, if it's a long reach, they reach out, grab it, lift it up a few inches, bring it back in, and once it's tight to the truck.
Oh, okay, okay. We get to see.
If you're interested, look up Corrado can
Corrado can,
the
okay.
internet, CURRATO. That'll give you an idea what it looks like.
What's I know we're talking about the two colors. What, is there going to be some apprehension from admin or from the contractor if we went with a 2-color system that was used for anything right now?
I have no issue. And that's why it's here before council is, if that's the position we want to go, it makes no difference to the contractor because the contractor is paid by bin pickup. If down the road we wish to go to a separate pickup, then that'll change a service fee because it'll be a separate day. In order to pick it up, if we pick up on Thursdays and now we're going to do a green bin, the truck has to be for green waste only. They can't. Unless he has 2 trucks in the future, then one truck could come along and pick the green and the other one can pick the black, but that's yet to be known. So
Completely separate pickup anyways.
yeah, they have to be picked up separately, or there's no point of having a green bin because you're not separating it at the landfill.
Madam Mayor, do you have any comments?
No, I'm fine with whatever you guys decide.
All right, well, I think the consensus was 2 of the 64-gallon bins, 1 green and 1 black. Someone prepared to move that? Councillor Lieberman, all in favor? Carried. 14.1, which was the 15.4. So in the letter, and sorry, I haven't scrolled to it, but it basically says that they've received no input. I know council had asked administration to reach out. Do they not take ours as significant input considering we're the owner operator?
Ours nor the Minister of Transportation's, obviously.
So
They also submitted.
follow up with them to,
Well, I think, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I think if council wishes that we now just completely bypass NAV Canada, go straight to the Minister of Transport.
I'm fine with that. Anyone else have any comments? It just, again, I'm concerned that this is a slippery slope that, when we start going this cutback and I know they're still looking at Peace River for the automation of the entire system. So I would hate, this is such a vital thing, especially in a year, you know, like we have right now with the number of water bombers, helicopters in the area, like to not physically have eyes on the ground. And just given the amount of daylight we have here, the 11.5 hours that they're proposing, like, you know, what do they do on days where we have 19.5 hours of daylight? So, right, someone prepared to move that, go to the minister and maybe CC writer of the NAV Canada letter and our MP.
Support, make that motion.
Okay, Councillor Welke, all in favor? Carried. Is someone prepared to move 15.1 through 15.3 for information? Councillor Lambert, all in favor? Great. Seeing no one here for question period, that ends the public portion of the meeting. Thank you everyone for attending. I will call for a motion to move in camera. Councillor Jessamine, all in favor? Carried.